It's February 1st, 2023, so time for another monthly update video in which I'll talk about what we've got coming up in this short month of February and all the stuff that you might have missed from the long month of January. All the things that I'm discussing are linked to below in the video description, so just open it up and you can find anything that you need to check out. I always like to begin by highlighting three big things. So big thing number one, it's actually happening today, is we are beginning the next year of the quarterly series, Philosophers in the Midst of History, right here in the Milwaukee area. I'll talk more about that in the February section, but we're getting to somebody who I should have talked about a long time ago, Socrates. Big thing number two is that I've started doing more with YouTube Shorts, and I plan to do more of them this coming month, including shorts that are a little bit more philosophically focused. Again, I'll talk about that in the February section. Big thing number three is not happening in February, but I do want to put it on your horizon. I started kicking around the idea of restarting the Understanding Anger lecture and discussion series, but now in an online format. This is something that I did way back when we lived in New York in 2015. I did a number of sessions, and I've been thinking about getting back to it, so I did a interesting little session about that, but I'll tell you more about that as well later on. So what happened in January? Well, there was one big thing that kind of took me off track from some of the plans that I had laid out. I got asked very last minute, actually just a week before classes began, if I would take on an additional academic class for Marquette University, reprising the Service of Faith and Promotion of Justice class that I did last semester for Marquette. And it's focused on anger, so you can expect to see, significantly more anger-focused content coming out. Classes also started at Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. I've got two classes there, an Intro to Humanities that meets face-to-face, and a completely online asynchronous class about philosophies as ways of life. And you've probably seen some of the videos that I've been generating for that in recent times. Now, what else? We did our usual half-hour Hegel sessions, one for the public, one just for Patreon supporters, did my usual Ask Me Anything session. We finished up with Dan Simmons' Hyperion Cantos in Worlds of Speculative Fiction, session 66, which was a lot of fun. That wound up being a very long video, though. We did manage to get together, me and my co-host, Dan Hayes, for a recording session of Wisdom for Life, session 61, about justice, fairness, and anger. And you can see the video for that linked to below. I also did a few other things, some of them here in the greater Milwaukee area, some of them online. So my wife, Andy, and I both were part of the recent Stoic Care panel discussion, roundtable, whatever you want to call it, focused on Stoicism, animals, and pets. But I was also invited to give a Pechakucha talk, which is a bunch of slides, and you get 20 slides, 20 seconds for each slide, at the Dare the Possible Happy Hour at the Keck Merrick Center for Human Performance. I got to tour the place. That was a lot of fun. Ran into some old friends there as well. And we finished up the month with a session inaugurating a new series called Philosophy Eats at the Women's Club of Wisconsin. It's a meal, and I brought some reflections about Stoicism and New Year's resolutions and why we should break them and switch them to goals. That is a very, very local event, you could say. And it went quite well. I also did something that I haven't done for quite a long time, a philosophy pop-up, this online thing. And I did it in part because people were really curious about the class I'm teaching at Marquette, about anger, focused, specifically on understanding anger. And that got me to thinking that maybe I should reprise that series and do so now in a very different format that would allow me to explore way more texts and thinkers and go a bit deeper than I had in the past when it was a library series. As I mentioned, classes got started. That has been consuming a lot of my time and thought and bandwidth. I also took on a few new clients for my tutorials and philosophical counseling and even academic coaching. So I've been quite busy on that end. I've been doing some writing, not as much as I'd hoped, in Medium. And I've also been working on this book project that I've been, dripping out to Patreon supporters and also in my Medium, taking the transcripts from the commentary videos on Epictetus' Enchiridion and turning them into actual book chapters. A book that I hope to have out sometime, I don't know, maybe in the summer or so, maybe in the fall, depending on how things go. I did one interview that aired this month with Classical Wisdom Speaks. So they interviewed me about ancient philosophies and, did a bit of other stuff like that that'll appear down the line. In YouTube videos, as I mentioned, I did some shorts. The shorts that I've been playing around with are mostly taking footage of our since passed away pets and a few things from the artwork at Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, since people seem interested in that. I also did several Sadler's stories about a number of different things, and I did a video about losing my mom as well. Her date of death happens every January, and it kind of sneaks up on me and think about that. I did a wrap-up and review video for 2022 and thinking about maybe what I'm going to do in 2023. I did get 1 half-hour Hegel video done this month, which I released to my Patreon supporters. I also, released some of the other videos to people that I had done the month before that. And what else? I did quite a few videos on Blaise Pascal, some core concept videos on some aspects of his pensées that I hadn't explored yet. And then I started a new speculative fiction studies series, which is almost done, on J.R.R. Tolkien's On Fairy Stories, a really seminal work in understanding fantasy and even science fiction literature. We did one caption contest with the late, great Sassy Cat trying to eat my meatball sandwich, and a couple quick takes as well, giving some advice to people that are interested in philosophy or academic study more broadly. And I also got a lot of podcast work done, finished up with the series on Aristotle. Then we jumped into Lucretius and did a short series on him, short series on John Chrysostom's homilies. That was something coming from my videos from last year when I was teaching that stuff in the anger class. And then we did Plutarch's On Controlling Anger, also from that class, and finished up the year with podcast episodes on David Hume and his inquiry concerning human understanding. So, we got a lot done in January, not as much as I'd hoped, but, starting that Marquette class really has consumed a lot of my available time. So, maybe we'll get some of it done in February. So what is coming up in the month of February? Well, we begin today. If you're here in the greater Milwaukee area and you want to take a little drive to the Frank Weinberg Library in Mequon, I will be speaking there in the Philosophers in the Midst of History quarterly series. This time we are focusing on Socrates and ancient Athens, and we'll be talking about him and his influence and whether he has a method or not, and his students and all sorts of other cool matters. That'll happen at 6 p.m., by the way. On the 4th at noon Central Time, always make sure to check your time zone. We'll have our monthly AMA, that is Ask Me Anything session. You want to get there early and get your questions in fairly early, because we always have more than we can answer in the 90 minutes that I allot, or even sometimes we go overtime and we don't get to everything. That same day on the 4th at 2 p.m. Central Time, for my Patreon supporters, I'll be having a philosophy chat session that's a little bit more intimate, video conferencing. They can ask me about anything they want, and we'll talk about that. On the 8th, we have another similar kind of session. That's at 5 p.m. Central Time, the Hegel Q&A and discussion session, which is supported by my Patreon supporters, or rather underwritten by them. But you don't have to be one to show up. That is for the general public, and it's a Zoom session, and we chat about Hegel, German idealism, philosophy more generally. On the 11th, at noon, starting at noon, and then, the second part of it will start around maybe 1:30 or so. Worlds of Speculative Fiction, session 67. This time we are looking at Sapkowski's Witcher series. We're only looking at the first 4 books because there's a lot out there, but that's already quite a lot to go into. I have greatly enjoyed reading them, and I'm getting ready to start shooting them, shooting the video for it very soon. We begin with a video that premieres with live chat. You can engage with me directly as I'm talking about Sapkowski and the Witcher series and the world building and philosophical themes. And then we have a more intimate video conferencing session that you can join in on as well. On the 24th, we have the next Philosophy Eats. That's a, interesting, although you might say not so easy to get involved with thing. You got to, join the women's club, as far as I know, and it's a great time talking about different topics. And I'll probably take the stuff that I'm talking about there, and we'll talk about it somewhere else down the line so everyone else can join in. And then finally, on the 25th, at noon, I will be doing another of the long-promised self-directed studies videos. This time it'll be about René Descartes. So if you've ever been wondering, you've been saying, I want to get into Descartes, I'm not quite sure how, I'll help you out with that. And so that's a video premiere with live chat as well. Those are all the events going on this month. You'll be seeing other things coming out, writings in Medium. I'm hoping to actually start up a newsletter again. I've been meaning to do that for a while, so I'll probably do that using Substack and import, people who've been signing up for the newsletter for a long time. I haven't been putting it out, but, I'll make good on that. A lot of other things going on. There might be some interviews coming out depending on the schedule for the podcast people. And of course, there is the Wisdom for Life radio show, which you can hear every Saturday, 5 p.m. Central Time, anywhere in the world, because it streams on the internet. We also, put it out in podcast form and in video form after I get through with all of that. So, you'll see all of that stuff coming out. Videos, I have some ambitious scheduling, in addition to the events and, the Wisdom for Life show. There will also be some shorts coming out. I'll probably still, do some stuff about, Sassy the cat and her doggy brother and sister, Amika and Magnus. But I'll probably also be doing some stuff directly about philosophy, about things that I think I can reasonably bring to your attention under a minute, right? Well, this is kind of a challenge. We'll finish up with the Tolkien. We've got one more video to roll out on short fairy stories. And I've got some video stuff to produce for my classes, so some core concepts. Diogenes Laertes, book 6 of his Lives of the Philosophers, focused on on Aristippus and the Cyrenaic school, the hedonist school. It's got some videos that'll be rolling out on that. I'm going to be shooting some videos on Lactantius and his On the Anger of God, which we'll be discussing in just a few weeks in my classes. And then I've got to produce more videos on Seneca's On Anger as well. And I do want to get to something I didn't get to this month, which is book reviews. So I got to do quite a few of those. They're starting to really pile up. And I'll also be working on some stuff that should be coming out in March as well, including a Descartes class that you can sign up for and take with me, not for credit, for enrichment, focused on the meditations. I'll also be getting the Understanding Anger series plotted out and figure out, where we're going to go with it and who we're going to read and what we'll discuss. And I'm going to do some podcast work. We've got more Hume. I've already released all the Hume episodes to my Patreon supporters, but I'll be releasing them now to the general public. After that, there'll be some Seneca. I did, shoot some videos on anger earlier last year, and I'll be turning those into podcast episodes. We do have some Aristotle yet to finish up. From book 7. We've covered almost all of the Nicomachean Ethics, but we're going to do that. And then we'll do the Diogenes Laertes Life of Aristippus and the doctrines of the Cyrenaic school. And we'll see if we can actually get through all that this month or not. There's a lot going on there. So that's... Now that I actually say all that, that does sound a little overly ambitious, but we'll see how much we can get done. So I hope you can join me for some of these online events. If you're in the Milwaukee area and, especially tonight, you want something to participate in that's going to make you think about things, you're interested in Socrates, come on over to the Frank Weinberg Library and, if you see me, introduce yourself. I'm always happy to chat with viewers, subscribers, supporters, fans, people who are interested in philosophy. So hope you have a great month ahead, and hopefully everybody stays healthy as well. And I'll see you somewhere in the interwebs.